As my new project is called Become a Fearless Father. I was talking to Susan about this because she's like, well, Sean's not a father yet, so how does this click in? So just a little bit for the audience out there, why I invited Sean and why I'm so excited to have him here is that for me, a fearless father must be an entrepreneur. And reason number one is, he has more time to be with his children. And, reason number two, you have the possibility to make a huge impact in the world. And that for me is so important, not just to make the impact, but also to teach your children as soon as possible from an early age on to do just that, to make an impact, even if it's just around, with his friends. And that's what I'm trying to teach my sons. So I'm just wondering, what is your philosophy when it comes to entrepreneurship? Be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's a great question. And, it is an interesting journey. I'm about to turn 35 in November this year. And part of the thing that led us on this journey, just for a little backstory of what we're doing today, was actually really the hardest season I've ever been through around 2008. So I met my wife, Sonia, in 2005, and we were married. We got married at 21, super young. And after a couple years of marriage, 2 years, she went on a trip to the Philippines and got really sick. And so she came back and started losing all of this weight, and we didn't know what was going on. And eventually she almost died. And it was the hardest season of our life because we were dual income. She was working as well. And I'm working multiple jobs trying to make it. And I'm doing ministry, which doesn't pay really at all. And she's working multiple jobs. We had bought a house because it was during the climb, but then the big short happens, here in America. And so we can't afford the house we're in. We actually had a rental property too. They lost their jobs, so they're not paying anymore. So that we're losing our homes. We're losing jobs. My wife's health is in total, we just don't know what's happening. And then eventually she gets so sick that we end up in the hospital for 6 days. And that was probably the most transformational week of my life, if I'm honest. And it was during that week that I was asking these questions like, God, why is this happening? But also what am I going to do as a leader? I think a fearless father, they need to be a leader, right? You're the visionary. You're leading your home, you're leading your family. And that's something that's very much on our heart. But this health journey is part of our journey as it pertains to kids. And it was during those 6 days in the hospital where I started really having kind of a conversation with God about feeling man, I got to step up. I got to step up as a leader, as a provider, at this point now, I may need to be carrying a heavy load. We'll see. That's when you get married, it's through sickness and health. And so if that's whatever that situation is. So it was during that time, I had also been studying the internet, entrepreneurship, and the reality that you could, like you said, get some time freedom, get location freedom. And now as I'm looking at, I'm like, well, if my wife can't work, I want to be able to stay at home and work from home. When we move into the kids season, I started thinking, I need more freedom and flexibility either in my work, or I need enough revenue to maybe hire a nanny or hire somebody. So all of these things were going through my head during that time, and a new resolve, a new resilience, a new focus, a new clarity rose up in me to say, I can play a bigger game. I've been comfortable with the way things have been, but now things are changing. And so as the mountains get steeper, I can get better and fitter and be fit for this task. And so it's really been since that time. We talk about, reasons come before results. My philosophy for entrepreneurship is that I think targeting money or targeting followers or targeting business growth is important, but I think having deep reasons as to what you want to do. And so that was where I was tapping into reasons man, I got to take care of my family, Number two, it's I got to live up to my God-given potential. Number three, we're living through such a revolution on the planet right now. There's also just massive opportunity. I mean, I could look at the glass half full with the circumstances that we were dealt, but I could also look at it or half empty. I could look at it half full because, man, the fact that the internet does exist, social media does exist, making money online is a reality. Time freedom, location freedom, all this stuff is a reality. And so that's been a huge blessing. And so that was 2010. That's kind of became my North Star. And since that time, I started moving towards that trying to figure out how to do the stuff I do today, trying to figure out how to make money and provide for my family and automate things and get this stuff going. And so I don't know if that answered your question, but that was sort of the inciting event. And since that time, by the way, just as an update, my wife does have a chronic illness. We have a surgery coming up, but in the midst of it, we've really learned that you can thrive even in the midst of challenges. Everybody's got stuff, right? We don't know what someone's health challenge is, or what the relationship challenge is, or the parent they're taking care of, or the child that has maybe some kind of a disability, or it's just something, everybody's got stuff. And I think we can get kind of under the water and almost feel like we're drowning, or we can also realize that God has woven greatness in our DNA and start swimming and realize, yeah, it's hard. It's less than ideal, but for whatever level I can't change this, I'm going to do what I can do, which is work harder, get more focused, get more disciplined, look for opportunities, not give up, keep going for it. And that's kind of been our response since then. And so on a macro level too, we are figuring out the kids thing. It may be adoption for us as we work through these health challenges. It may be, God willing, natural or any combination of the above, but we're still in that process for sure.
Wow. That was really powerful, Shauna. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, some really personal things for you. It's amazing how you've made the worst of times and turned it into, maybe not the best of times, but really turned it around to like really something powerful and beautiful. And the work you're doing with all the people that you're impacting with what you're explaining about YouTube is huge. So amazing. I hope people pick that up. I sometimes wonder, and I always ask that as well, like maybe we sometimes blessed with the bad things that happen and take it and yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much. I really hope. Sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit because
that's great.
Awesome.
And you saying that, what's interesting is I really do believe, and it's a perspective thing, right? It's how we're framing things, but also it's never the best. It's never the easy road that develops strong character. It's never the easy road. There's a phrase, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. So it's interesting, and this is a stunning thing showing the courage and character of my wife, who she's even said, I wouldn't have changed this. And I don't know if I agree with her, but it's a powerful statement because I'm like, well, because especially my heart breaks if I see her in pain or whatever. But what it triggered, before that, going through all this, I was a real type A. I'm still probably very type A, but I was very type A driven, and I lacked empathy. I lacked compassion. I mean, I'm a young guy. I feel invincible, and I can't really relate to sickness or pain because I hadn't really experienced much. I hadn't even really experienced deaths in our family until a little more recently with some grandparents. So I just kind of had that mentality. So then when we get through this, I got completely knocked back, but it made me really a changed man, where now I started to see people and I started to have empathy and I started to have compassion and I started to see the world around and realize, wow, people are hurting everywhere. And I started to have a greater depth there. With my wife and I, our relationship was tested for sure, strained for sure, but ultimately got stronger as we got through these seasons and these situations. And when I think about all of the hardest seasons, I think about going through the recession, with the housing crisis and losing our homes. I mean, it made me a much more lethal entrepreneur. It made me much more understanding of the ups and downs. And a lot of the up and coming generation, maybe 5-10 years back from me, didn't live through 2007, 8, 9, and things have been so good in the economy. Like, anybody can kind of make money right now. But what about when it really, when it gets tough again? And so all of that to say, you're totally right. I think that it's so important that we, call it what it is. If situations are bad, grief is important, going through all of that. But I really do believe that these obstacles and challenges that hit our lives can become opportunities, and they really make us stronger. So much to say too, that our story, as I've told our story and as I've shared it, it's been the thing that people connect with. And nobody really connects with so you know what, I was born into the perfect family and I was handed everything with a silver spoon And then I built a business with no challenges. And then my marriage was because number one, that's nobody's life. But if that's the story that we're even telling, people can't relate to that. But it's so powerful. I mean, I feel like where humanity really connects is in the struggle, because that's one thing we can all relate with, is so much blessing and so much good, but a lot of struggle. And I do believe that the struggle can lead us all to success if we embrace it that way. Stay positive, stay on top of it, look for the opportunities, keep learning, keep going, keep growing. Then we really can get to the destination and our calling. I believe that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. It's so powerful, and I really hope that people take this and move.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.